Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. And Larry, I didn't actually mention just when you came on there. Sorry, apologies for being late, but we're in kind of the same little bit of a away kit retro style.
Yeah, we are actually. I was just thinking that the second you started speaking, Tom. But look, mate, it's a pleasure to be on. I feel like I haven't been on in a video with you. When was the last time we did a video together? It was the match review, which was on Sunday. So it's been a fair few days in between drinks, but happy to join you as always. You know that.
Always, mate. Yeah, a few drinks. Obviously, Saturday night, Manchester United against Everton. Saturday night, 9:30 kickoff for us here in Sydney. So I'm sure we'll definitely bow. I'm definitely at the pub. Hopefully, Larry can join us, and I'm sure there'll be a few in the chat who are going to be joining us as well. And speaking of the chat, I'll just say good day to a few guys in here. Josh, evening fellas, looking forward to Saturday at the pub. Definitely priorities, of course. Dion, evening, good to see you, mate. Rob as well. He's live on It's a Football Thing in probably about an hour's time. So make sure you go over and subscribe to It's a Football Thing. Justin here from the Supporters Club. Hope you're well, mate, as always. Jamie over from Northern Ireland. Appreciate joining us live again, mate. Always appreciate the support. Hope you're well. And George, Larry, and Mr. Ten Hag from George. Thank you, George. I'll take that as a compliment. And we might as well start on Eric Ten Hag, Larry. Actually, I've got a flag to show you. Obviously, anyone who knows the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney, we do sort of put up some flags for some of the players and sort of thing. I've just created one on Eric Ten Hag, which will get printed out before the Melbourne tour, assuming he's going to be the manager. I might wait a week or two before printing it, but I'll get your thoughts on that later, Larry. But about this time yesterday, actually, it was probably midnight sort of when the news broke, roughly. Everyone here in Sydney was fast asleep, but news did come out that from Mark Ogden, who works for ESPN at the moment, I think. And when you think of ESPN, you think, oh, maybe not that quite reliable, but Mark Ogden himself was the one who broke the Rafael Varane news before anyone, before any other journalist, before Fabrizio Romano. Mark Ogden was that man. So he must have 1 year inside Old Trafford at the moment. And he has come out and said Manchester United set to finalise Eric Ten Hag appointment. Ajax coach now the chosen candidate after topping a 4-man shortlist. And there's a few other ones from his colleague at ESPN, Alex Shaw, saying Manchester United set to finalise the appointment of Ten Hag. Rennie Mullenstein is one of those considered as his assistant, which we'll get into the assistant. I made that video on Robin Van Persie the other day. And just speaking of other journalists who everyone does want to hear from, Fabrizio Romano saying Manchester United are discussing with Eric Ten Hag about budget, players, long-term plans, staff members considered key points to reach full agreement. The £2 million release clause won't be an issue with Ajax, and Man United and Ten Hag are talking about the project. So make sure you do get all your thoughts in the live chat around all things Eric Ten Hag and what you make of the news and how confident are you of it getting over the line. But I'll go to get your thoughts first, Larry. Just your thoughts in regards to it, because he's our manager now. Are we just going to say that he's going to be the manager?
Yeah, I mean, he will be, Tom. He will be. And look, I'm happy to say we can have an exclusive interview with him here on this podcast. So please, Mr. Ten Hag, tell me, how excited are you to be Manchester United manager?
Every single episode will have an exclusive with Ten Hag.
Honestly, yeah. Look, it's exciting, Tom. And before reality sinks in, before we apply the realism or the reality to it and say the Glazes are going to interfere with how Manchester United's success or lack thereof eventuates, yes, we all know this, but let's be excited. I think we can take positives from the fact that the meeting suggests he's presented on a project, he's spoken about budget, he's spoken about level of control he will have in terms of player transfers. So all in all, it sounds positive. Ralph Rangnick's obviously given his blessing to the appointment. All in all, Tom, I think this is awesome. I think there are question marks. What I guess I pose to you and to all the listeners, he needs to be backed. It needs to be 5 years. If we come 15th, I don't care how bad our social media comments are. I don't care who's saying get that bald head out of this club. Doesn't matter. We're sticking by you no matter what. That 5 years, that's yours. That's what I want to see the club do.
Look, I completely agree, and we'll get into a discussion if things are going horribly wrong and we're sitting in 12th or 13th come Christmas time. That's a discussion for then, and I don't think that'll be the case. But who knows what can happen in football? But so we can have that discussion a little bit later. But one of the things you talk about there sounds very good, and that's something that does come out of Manchester United. We have all these thoughts, and then sometimes think, well, hang on, is this true, or is this a line the club's putting out for a certain reason, or is this a player putting this out for a certain agenda? And one of those tweets, I forget who this tweet came out from. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but it was along the lines of Ralph Rangnick will have complete control over the playing squad to get rid of who he wants. That sounds good, Larry. But as I said a couple of weeks ago in regards to do you buy that? Can he go into a change room and Manchester United say, we want to keep Ronaldo? Can he go into that boardroom and say, no, I want Ronaldo out the front door?
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. Bloody hell, Tom. Like, we have this conundrum. We need to start operating like a football club. In saying that, and I will say that the caveat to all of that, I think there's a way to have a successful football team with Cristiano Ronaldo in it. I mean, yes, he has the limitations in his game with regards to press. He's not as mobile as he once was, but the guy's still a finisher, and he's a bang-up leader in that dressing room. So I think that there has to be a place for Cristiano Ronaldo, assuming he wants to be there.
You say all these things, though. You say all that, and it's probably what you're going to get into there. We say all that, but the question was, what will the club do? Like, what will the club do? Is it a good spin saying, okay, yeah, you can have complete control? But when Eric Ten Hag comes in, and again, I think he will like Ronaldo. I think he'll want Ronaldo for a season.
Yeah.
Let's play hypothetical where Eric Ten Hag said, no, Ronaldo is not the striker for me. I won't use him for a minute. Will he go into the club and will he truly have full control? Not what should happen, what will happen.
Look, I take your question. I'm going to answer that in two parts. In principle, I agree with you. If he said, for example, I want Marcus Rashford out the door, I think the club should do everything they can to fully support that. But in specifically on Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't agree. And the one reason I will say to that is, if you put yourself in the board and Eric Ten Hag, pretend you're there, you're a fly on the wall. The way that conversation or the response from the board might be, Eric, we want to support you in this. Reality is he's got 1 year left on his contract. He's on a monstrous amount of wages that no other club in European football is going to offer him. So are we going to cause unrest in the dressing room where we're going to tell this player who's got the platform that's larger than any other athlete on this earth, are we going to tell him you're not in our plans for 1 year and cause dressing room unrest? I think it's just a fine balancing act with Cristiano Ronaldo. Unless he comes to the club and with another potential offer, I think it's one where the club, rightly or wrongly, needs to allow him to ride out in terms of his contract. Because the unrest, if you tell him you want him to go and there aren't any potential suitors, could be really detrimental to our season.
Yeah, that's pretty much along the lines of what I was thinking. I just think whatever the manager wants or the club wants, one of them's potentially not going to get their way. And if one of them doesn't get their way, how's that going to unfold in regards to the manager's happiness or the players' happiness or the club's direction? It's an interesting one. But just here, Justin just reminded me, pump for when the news breaks, which will definitely be going live. If the news breaks at 3 a.m., maybe not. But if the news breaks when we both are awake, we definitely will go live.
Ronaldo signing at 2 a.m.
We did too, but we were up scrolling through Twitter that whole day. That was what a day that was. If we go back and relive that, maybe the highlight of Ronaldo's second spell that day where he was announced Manchester United player. But sort of before we move on, and I want to move on from Ten Hag discussion because we do have a football match to discuss on this weekend against Everton. And we're going to have many sort of chats about, okay, what system's going to Ten Hag's going to play, what signings he going to have, who's he going to sell. Just off the top of your head, is there a player, and not just go, okay, Marcus Rashford or a Harry Maguire or Ronaldo, is there an outside chance player who you think both sides is going to flourish under Ten Hag and one who you think actually controversially you think Ten Hag might sort of not see a future for him?
Yeah. Outside choice for players he'll like. I think he'll like Victor Lindelof.
That's the one I was thinking.
A centre-back on the ball, technically gifted. I think he'll see the potential to make him a more well-rounded centre-back. And the thing around Lindelof, and this is where I'm critical, myself included. I'm making an absolute hypocrite of myself here, Tom. But if I look at if I look at Victor Lindelof's performances this season, I think he's been the best of a bad bunch. But has he been a world-class centre-back? The answer for me is no.
I mean, he's been good by his standards.
Yeah, good by his standard, exactly. But is he performing at the level of a Van Dijk or like Sergio Ramos in years past, or a prime Rafael Varane, or even Harry Maguire last season? The answer for me would be no. So if I'm Eric Ten Hag, I think he'd look at the tools in terms of Victor Lindelof's ability, and I think he'll look to make him a more well-rounded centre-back. In terms of who struggles, I think I could see Fred struggling because I think he might see he'll like what he sees in the final third, but he'll look at him because the way Ten Hag plays is it's a very structured in terms of build up play. So he might look at, well, you're good past the halfway line, but you're no good to me in my own half. So Fred's the one where I'm like, I'm not too sure. Look, the obvious one is Harry Maguire. I think that's lazy. I thought I'd give you something a
On
bit
that Harry
different.
Maguire one, he made it sound so disrespectful. I think in regards to our chat about Victor Lindelof, obviously a fan of the Swede. But on that, I was thinking of Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof and weighing up, okay, who's going to get the sort of preferred treatment under Eric Ten Hag? And do you think, in terms of on the ball, and look, Harry Maguire on the ball and off the ball this season has been dreadful. There's no hiding from that. But let's just say both players are playing to their capabilities. Is there a case with on the ball, it's a little bit like Delo and Wan-Bissaka? We think Delo's a lot better than Wan-Bissaka because the way he looks. But ultimately, if you look at completions and stuff, Wan-Bissaka could actually be more effective than Delo. Victor Lindelof looks twice the footballer Harry Maguire is. If you actually look at the way Harry Maguire does bring the ball out, whether unfortunately sometimes more so for England than Manchester United, who's better on the ball? Because Victor Lindelof 10 times better, looks better. But I'm just thinking in terms of productivity, a lot of people probably would look at the stats and point to Harry Maguire actually suiting on the ball, not off the ball maybe, but on the
Yeah,
ball
I
more
mean,
at
it's
Ten
an
Hag system.
interesting argument you raised, Tom. If you look at the statistics, Harry Maguire has a lot of progressive passes, but what the stats don't tell you is a progressive pass is considered going forward. Now, the way United set up, a lot of the time, Luke Shaw is 5 yards higher than Harry Maguire. That's a progressive pass. So the stats don't really tell the full picture. The other thing is, Harry Maguire's been targeted in terms of attacks have intentionally pressed him because they know that he gets pressured on the ball and tends to give it away. I think Lindelof is better on the ball. I think Lindelof, when he is pressed, knows and has better awareness around him in terms of how to distribute the ball. Harry Maguire, for me, is one of those. You know what? It's almost similar to a Lukaku in the respect of I think once he has the ball under control, he has the ability to do things with it. And so look at his penalty. The guy can strike. He's also got a passing range to him, but I don't know if you press Harry Maguire, I think you can get an error out of him, and that's why I think he's got 8 mistakes that have led to attacks on goal this season.
I think that's where I would sort of draw the line in terms of comparing them. I think Victor Lindelof's a far better footballer, and on the ball and passing are two different things. And on the ball, far more comfortable dealing with situations. In terms of passing, in terms of setting a team going forward, I think Harry Maguire might not look it, but I think he is more productive. But in regards to you're about to say something?
If you look at Lindelof's ability to get the ball from deep, and he's done it a number of times
Oh,
this season,
it's not a
his
weakness of
assist to
Lindelof's
Bruno in
game.
the opening
It's not
game, I don't think
definitely not a
Maguire's got
weakness in
that in his
Lindelof's
locker.
game. Well, I think it is a potential strength. I just think it's something, and now unfortunately it's not recency bias because it's been a huge chunk of this season with Maguire. It's been pretty much every game he's been poor, but we have to think Maguire hasn't been poor for his whole career. He has been good at Manchester United in his first spell, but unfortunately it might not be form. He might have unfortunately developed into this player, but we'll see what Eric Ten Hag does do with the centre-back situation is interesting. But my one shout, maybe not controversial, Donny van de Beek, I think he'll be like a new signing. I think Donny van de Beek came in to replace Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba didn't, that move fell through due to the COVID times. Paul Pogba was going to leave now. Donny van de Beek will come back to the club. Who knows? But that is a debate for another day. We'll move on to the match preview against Everton. Everton, my God, they are in a mess, Larry. I watched the second half of their game against Burnley this morning. They lost 3-2 away at Burnley, and now they are in big trouble. I think they're 1 point ahead of Burnley. Same amount of games played, but Burnley played Norwich this week, and Manchester United face Everton. So there is a very real possibility. Can Man United stuff it up? Most likely. But there is a strong possibility that United win and Burnley win. Everton are in the relegation zone. Well, we sort of had a joke and we had a laugh and sort of praying maybe Newcastle or Leeds go down. Ultimately, they work their way out of it, and you think, okay, well, it is what it is. I've never envisaged a Premier League season without Everton. They're just a Premier League team. It's never crossed my mind to see them in the Championship, but the real the real possibility is there now.
They haven't been relegated since, I want to say, the 54-55 season. It's a long time. It's definitely in the 50s. I might be a season or two off. It's been a very long time for Everton.
What was that? No, I think Everton, one of the clubs, haven't been relegated.
No, I'm certain they went down. I'm certain they went down in the 50s. Anyway, someone find that stat for me.
Yeah, someone let us know.
I'm certain that that's what I found in my own research today. On Everton, nonetheless, Tom, I think you're seeing with them a very extreme example of what the Glazers have done. thrown money without any proper strategic plan, not thinking the sort of coach is going to dictate the sort of players we buy. They've just gone for the glamorous signing. Again, they've spent something in the region of 500 million, I want to say, over the last 5 years. James Rodriguez, transfer, they signed good money for him. Lasted a year, he's off. They're a shambles. They're an absolute shambles. The players on paper, there's no way that team should be where they are. The Rafael Benitez appointment baffled me. It was never
This
going to
time
go
last
down
year, I
well.
wanted their mid. This time last year, I wanted their midfield three at Old Trafford.
Yeah, and they're good players. That's the thing. Individually, these are good players, but they're not meshing well because, again, there was no structure, no plan to how they wanted to play, and that's where they find themselves. And the appointment of Lampard, with all due respect, what has he proven to put him in a relegation battle?
Just on Lampard there, just a quick question here. George is saying he's Donny van der Beek playing, haven't kept up. Well, was he injured this morning? I forget, but whatever the case, he will be not cup tied, but loan tied, whatever that term is. So he won't be playing. Thank God. I don't know how he has actually sort of gone at Everton. I should know that. But if anyone does, let me know how Donny van der Beek has fared at Everton. That would be great because, as I said, he will potentially be like a new signing. But Larry, on Frank Lampard, okay, you can have laughs, or did he deserve the job, or is he a good manager? That's a discussion for another day. Is there a situation he could get sacked? I don't think so, but there's one or two murmurs now, and you just think, is it worth the risk keeping him and seeing if they can get themselves out of it, or is the risk they're just going one way, they're going down? Let's just get a big Sam in just for just a risk that might pay off. Because my God, if Everton get relegated, you do not want to be that manager who takes them down.
Look, they're too far gone. I can't see them appointing a manager now. I mean, we're already a week in April. I think it's just too much to ask. They chose Lampard. If they were going to choose Sam Allardyce or anyone else, that was the time to do it. They've backed this guy. If they go down, and like I'm saying with Ten Hag, they need to give Lampard next season. He needs an opportunity to bring them back up.
Yeah. Well, that is for the Everton, sort of any Everton fans, maybe none in the chat, but I wanted Newcastle to get relegated, Larry. I then want Leeds to get relegated. That's not going to happen. Seeing Jordan Pickford in the Championship, that would make that season very pleasing for me. You know, I don't like Jordan Pickford.
Oh, look, I think your patience with him is as short as his arms.
Not bad. But I will be at the pub on Saturday night. I don't care what the result is. But if it sort of sends Everton a step closer, or should I say Jordan Pickford, a step closer to the Championship, I will be pleased because I think he's the most overrated goalkeeper. I think he's arrogant. He's got no reason to be arrogant because he just shoots the ball.
He plays well for England, to be fair. I got to give him that. He does.
Yeah, Harry Maguire looks good for England as well. I just think it's a case, if we can get a shot on target, he won't be able to reach the ball. If we can shoot, we'll be scoring this week. So give the ball to Fred from distance. Just have a shot.
Pickford.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Starting 11 predictions. That's it. A little bit sort of chaotic today on short notice. But Larry, I'll bring up your starting 11. If you want to, was there anything about the game before we get into starting 11s in terms of news we want to look at?
I mean, the interesting one that's come out was Ralph Rangnick reportedly going to be part-time in his consultant role. I personally don't see that. I think it's lazy journalism. I can't see a situation where they've told him you're going to be working 9 times a month. Please.
Well, it's a non-story for me. It's a non-story in terms of this consultancy thing. What they expect him to come in Monday to Friday, sit down at a desk and do paperwork? Like, it's a consultancy role, in my opinion, and I don't have too much knowledge of the role. They'll pick up a phone and call him when they need to talk. What's he going to do Monday morning, 9 a.m.? Well, if there's nothing to be discussed, no decision to be made, what are they want to help Darren Fletcher with the cones?
Oh, I mean, look, it's a difficult one, Tom. I think where United have really struggled, and I suppose it's the transparency and this communication that Joel Glazer promised a little over 12 months ago. We're not really sure what his role is. We've been told consultant. We've been told almost like a director of football. If it's a director of football position, then I'm expecting that's a full-time job. That requires overseeing of the footballing department, the recruitment, the scouting network, the manager, a whole bunch of things. And if that's not what he's there to do, if he's genuinely a consultant, then yeah, I think being part-time makes sense. But we're no clearer on who does John Murtaugh report into. Does John Murtaugh report into Ralph Rangnick? Does John Murtaugh report into Richard Arnold? is Richard Arnold hands-on with the football department or is he not? And if he's not, then who's looking after the football department? We're no clearer as Manchester United fans who's running the club. And I think that's where I have the issue. The transparency from the club needs to be better.
Yeah, definitely. Adam here saying people in consultant roles are only used when they're needed. Yeah, which is pretty much what going along. And we're going to get in the starting 11s here. George says give Matter a run against Everton so Larry's tree can go down if he scores. That's a new tree, though, George. I don't know if you haven't been joining us for a while. That is a new tree.
It's a pot plant. It's always been there, though.
The Christmas tree can go back up if Matter scores or Matter at least gets a run. Dion here saying no point having Pogba or Lingard in the squad.
Tom, I have live breaking news. My leave for Melbourne's been approved.
So Larry will be joining us in Melbourne, thank God, because we're all planning our nights out and planning the events for down in Melbourne. And one of the boxes you do need to tick is you need to be present. So Larry will be there. I'm sure you'll be booking flights straight after this. And Adam here, same starting 11 as last week, but Ronaldo win as striker and Pogba on the bench. So Larry, I'll bring yours up. What do you got here? Okay, pretty much same back four as what I'm thinking. Scott McTominay, interesting, because I thought it was one of his, and here I am as a huge fan of Scott McTominay. I thought it was a poor performance last week, and Nemanja Matic is another debate. Is he fit to play this? Who knows? But that's an interesting shout there, bringing McTominay in.
Yeah, I've actually gone with a different approach. This is what the graph won't tell you. I'm not going with what I would do. I'm going with what I think Ralph Rangnick will do.
Yeah, no, that's a shout. My starting 11, which I'll get into in a little bit, is a little bit of a mix of what I think and what I want.
Sure.
Marcus Rashford, I'm picking Rashford as well, but it's almost a case of regardless of how poor he's been.
Else. Yeah, there's no one else. I mean, I like Alenga. I think he needs to be pulled out a little bit. I think he's struggled a little over the last few games, particularly. He didn't look good in that the home game, the second tie against Atletico Madrid. I don't like what he did on the weekend. I don't like his lack of awareness in terms of getting in the way for Rashford's goal. Like and look, he's a young kid. I'm not gonna blame him. He'll learn from that. But I just think pull him out a little bit. You heard the crowd getting on his back, and I just don't think that's a way to treat a 19-year-old. It's not the fans' fault. It's been an awful season, but we're now in a position where we're expecting a 19-year-old to take on the pressure and respond and be our light at the end of the tunnel. It's just not fair. That's not what a kid's in there to do. So I just think pull him out a little bit. He doesn't need the pressure.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. And look, I have concerns regardless. I have concerns over his ability in going forward, but yeah, I completely agree. Football Capital here saying you're both going to both Melbourne games. We are, yes, mate. So if you are there, let us know and we'll obviously tee something up. Obviously, the Football Capital, go and give them a subscribe if you haven't. I'll just bring mine up, and it's actually relatively similar. I've dropped McTominay. Would I? Probably, yeah, even though I'm a big fan. Will Nemanja Matic play? Probably not. So it probably will be Scott McTominay. Back four, same as you. I've gone Rashford obviously, but I've switched sides. I do like Jadon Sancho on the left with Alex Telles, and yeah, Rashford over Elanga at the moment. And that's not praising Rashford or criticising Elanga. Just it's one of those, I think, it's got to turn around eventually, Larry. Something's got to happen for him eventually. The ball's got to hit him and bounce in the right direction. And I just think you do need to play Rashford through this. In regards to my wants, what I would do, George brought it up a little bit earlier. I would play One Matter. Of course, One Matter's not going to play. But your thoughts on there? Maybe just that Nemanja Matic conundrum.
Yeah, look, I'd be going Matic. If you're asking me what I would choose, I'd be going Nemanja Matic. I think we look 10 times better when he's on the field. I don't know why he plays a game every month. I don't know if it's something in his contract or what's going on there, but he needs to play more. It's really interesting, Tommy, if you can actually think back to when lockdown started and football restarted. Do you recall Nemanja Matic was playing every single game? On that run where United made the top four, he was a key component of all of that. And he was playing every single game.
Do you think there's, look, maybe a discussion for another day, but we made the point a couple of weeks ago and people are coming around to it now in regards to some of our thoughts around Edison Cavani, and we question his sort of professionalism in terms of getting back from Uruguay and sort of his fitness issues. I'm definitely not questioning Nemanja Matic. I think from the outlook, this looks like a manager thing, not picking the player. Is there a debate to be had around Nemanja Matic and making himself available, or is it? No, I'm definitely not doing that. I'm just saying we don't have enough information for that.
Yeah, not for me, mate. I mean, he's on the bench every week. He just doesn't.
That's probably the tick in his favour. Edison Cavani's on another continent.
What I will say, and what our graphic doesn't show, is what I'd like to see on the bench. I think between now and the end of the season, I'd like to see one kid given an opportunity.
Yeah.
Garnacho, get him on the bench. Charlie McNeil, get him on the bench.
Yeah.
Do it. Now's the time. Get them on the bench. Let them feel like they're part of the first team. We got nothing to lose.
I think the one who I've been impressed, I've only seen him maybe a handful of times this season, but Fernandez, the left back, I think he's someone
Yeah,
who you could see
he's a
playing in
player.
Holland. So, okay, could Ten Hag get something out of there? They reckon Garnacho has trained this week with the senior team. So, how about that for a career? He's training with Ronaldo at club level, and he went away during the international break and training with Lionel Messi. So, he's obviously done very well this season in the reserves and the under 18s. So, I think he's worth a shout, at least being on the bench. Football capital here, Hannibal. Because he's made a debut. He's played for Man United before a couple of times now.
He has.
So you don't want those things to get their debut and not just be a sort of a token gesture. You want them to be able to progress and sort of continue on.
Yeah, totally. Hannibal's got the ability. Everyone who's seen him says it. It's up to him. But he needs an opportunity to do that. Look, it's really difficult. As much as, look, you and I both know top four's gone. Arsenal keep shitting themselves. Tottenham keep shitting themselves. We're still in a top four battle. I hate to say it. It's the hope that kills, but we're right in there, mate. We're right in there. There's every opportunity we could finish.
It's amazing how we look at it and sort of before the Leicester game, thought, okay, must win. Could you imagine a scenario where he dropped points? The season is over. Not even up for debate. Not even hope. The season will be over. Full time. Season was over. We said it. No chance of top four. Not even discussing it. You fast forward a week and you start looking at the table and you think, well, hang on. Okay, if we beat Arsenal, we win this game. They just lost a game midweek, 3-0 to Crystal Palace. You think, hang on, one or two results go our way, we're back in top four. And just think, well, we do jump the gun as fans, I think. Well, not think, I do know that. Emad here saying Charlie Savage, he was obviously training with Garnacho in the first team. I don't think he'll get a run, but...
Yeah, I like Charlie Savage. I like the way he plays, but... And it's weird, with regards to our midfielders...
Over Lingard or Pogba, what do you do now? If we haven't selected them in our start 11s, obviously they're contracted, they're on big money. There's got to be a pressure to sort of have them involved. But could you see a situation where Ralph Rangnick says, okay, because he'll know what's happened with Pogba and Lingard now, and he probably knows exactly what we know. They're very likely going to leave. Is there a situation where they get frozen out? Because now, let's say the top four race is back on, Larry. You have a sort of asset in Paul Pogba who can help you get top four. You know Pogba's not committed to the club. What do you do now as a manager?
Yeah, look, do you take the moral high ground with Paul Pogba or do you try and get some results? It's a really difficult one. If you're Ralph Rangnick, and if I was Ralph Rangnick, I'd be picking Paul Pogba. Better the devil you know, as they say, Tom. You can chuck a kid in there like Charlie McNeil. Charlie McNeil's known for his work rate. He's got good ability on the ball, but he doesn't have the ability of a Paul Pogba, with all due respect. He doesn't, right? It's so risky. When you're talking about the difference between making top four or not, how do you throw a kid in there? It's very difficult.
Well, speaking of another Frenchman, just a quick question here before we wrap up from him, considering he hasn't been great since we signed him and his form hasn't been any better, do you think Varane deserves a starting position? Maguire, we all know, will start. Forget the Maguire and Lindelof situation for a little bit. Varane's time at United so far, does he deserve a start? Not, okay, he's got the ability to start and he wants to start based on what he can provide. Deserving is another word. What are your thoughts on the Varane situation so far? Because, look, has he been world-class? No. But has any player been world-class? And they're obviously hands are tied in terms of the players that have to play next to them. So he's impacted by Harry Maguire's performances or Luke Shaw's performances. So he can't pin everything on Rafael Varane, but ultimately he's an individual. He has to take responsibility for his own performances. That word deserve. Does Rafael Varane deserve to be starting over the other centre-backs? Is it just in case the other centre-backs have been that bit sort of a bit poorer, where Varane technically does deserve?
Some will say I have an agenda. I don't have an agenda. I'm telling you, I guarantee you, Harry Maguire will have a positive season next season. He'll be 10 times better than he is this year. He's not performing to his ability. He's not. Look, I'm critical of him, and I think he's got limitations to his game. But even if we play a high line, he's better than what he's showing. He is. Let's not pretend he's a different footballer. He didn't become shit overnight. That's not the case. I think with Varane, though, and where I am critical of Harry Maguire, I think Varane's looking worse because he's next to Maguire. I don't think they're on the same wavelength. I don't think they communicate well. And I hate to say this, and a criticism of Varane here, I thought we were getting a leader. He's clearly not vocal. I think that's very clear, and I think that's taken all of us a bit by surprise. And when you look at it now, you can see that Sergio Ramos was probably the talker between the two at Real
I
Madrid.
don't see. Look, I take your point there, and you could very well be bang on the money. I don't know. No, I never like and not that I don't like your opinion, but I never sort of fully buy into. Oh, he doesn't talk. I'm watching on the TV. I don't know. Like, what does talking do? Do you have to point? Like, how do you know he's not talking? Like, because he might say the right thing and that other player doesn't react. So if he sort of says, okay, can you go to the right, and the player doesn't go to the right, he's given them that information. But if that player doesn't react to that, it looks like Varane's not talking. So just that argument in regards to, okay, he's not a leader, he doesn't communicate, could very well be true. It might be the opposite of true. It's a hard accusation to throw out there, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, the evidence suggests to me, and where a chunk of United's goals are coming at the moment, is Harry Maguire seems to be out of the line to the rest of the top four. So it's either Harry Maguire is doing whatever the hell he wants, and no one else is pulling him in line, and I would expect that to be Varane, looking at our other back four options, or it's what you're saying. Rafael Varane is a leader, and Harry Maguire's not listening to him, and he's saying, "I'm the captain. I'll do it my way." But either
Yeah,
way,
no.
they're not on the same wavelength, and they're both contributing to a lot of goals going in. I think if you look at pure one-on-one defending, I think Varane's been okay. He hasn't been perfect, but I'll give him a pass because it's his first year in the Premier League. It's a difficult ask. If anyone remembers Nemanja Vidic's first season for Manchester United, he was not good, I assure you. Go back and watch the footage.
No, it was his first couple of months. Then they had a game away at Blackburn, or away at Manchester City. Then a couple of weeks later, away at Blackburn. Him and Patrice Evra. Wow.
Yeah, both of them.
their first. They also came in the same January
They
transfer
came in
window.
January. But that first couple months, they were woeful at times.
Not even woeful. I was thinking, oh my God, Ferguson might actually sell them before the season's over. And I think they've both been on record in saying they actually feared for their future in regards to Sir Alex Ferguson that first couple of months, because Harry Maguire looked like Paolo Maldini this season compared to what they looked like in that first spell. But pretty much just about wraps up this match preview. We'll be back tomorrow night. But is there anything else you do want to discuss?
Prediction? You can't get away from me without one. Come on.
2-1. I don't like away at Goodison. I can see us. I never like us away at Goodison. I know sometimes we win there. I know,
draw, aren't we? Another draw.
It feels like it. It feels like it.
I think we'll win 2-1.
I think there'll be a late goal. I think it'll be a late winner for someone. Like if there's someone's to win it, you can just see, okay, Everton's huge occasion in terms of its sort of survival, or for us in terms of the moment, sending them down. Emad here going 2-2. I wouldn't be shocked. Josh here, 2-0 Everton. Look, it does have that feel. You just think Everton will be up for it, make or break time for them. Sadly, I kind of feel Josh's fear there. But they are so
Josh
bad,
is right. I said this in another group chat. I said, people are like, oh, Everton are going down. And I said, don't worry, United will play them in a form.
No, definitely. But I have saw Everton's running of fixtures. They are in trouble. Now, look, Burnley might save them because Burnley are just naturally they're below teams for a reason. They're going to lose games. So Burnley might not be able to capitalise. But my God, Everton are not going to pick up many points. So hopefully it doesn't start against Manchester United. But we'll be back here, Emad here saying Manchester United, the club you need to play to survive. And Adam, unfortunately, sharing our fears. Everton will win as well. Wouldn't surprise me if they win. But if you are in Sydney, Larry and I will be at Scruffy Murphy's on Saturday night, taking advantage of a nice 9:30 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday night. That is the best it does get in Australia, 9:30 on a Saturday night. And we do have that against Arsenal in a couple of weeks. I think it's the 23rd of April, so we'll definitely be there for Arsenal. And, of course, as Larry sort of broke a little bit earlier in the podcast, that he will be joining us down in Melbourne in the middle of July for Man United's pre-season. And, hopefully everyone, all Man United fans in Australia, are making that trip to Melbourne. Come down, get involved. We'll be doing plenty of events when we're down there with the other supporters clubs. And, 2 games will get in the way, in my opinion, Larry, against Melbourne Victory and Crystal Palace. The rest of the week, I'm counting the days already.
Yeah, very excited, not too far away. And just one last thing, Tom, a change is coming.
Yeah, you have shown me all that stuff. So, yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed. And just a quick question here, Adam, saying same pub for the Arsenal game. Yep, Adam, we're back at Scruffy Murphy's for the Arsenal match. But, a change is coming. So stay tuned on all your social medias and obviously subscribe so you don't miss us going live on YouTube. Make sure you do leave a like on the video. That'll be very much appreciated. And Friday night pint, Larry, something tomorrow? I'm sure there'll be breaking news overnight, so we should have something to discuss tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a Thursday night brew, but Friday night pint. I'll make sure I'm replacing that mug.
You don't have your 7 litre water bottle there?
I do. I always have my 7 liter water bottle, mate.
Until then, see if that is full tomorrow and what liquid Larry does have in there for your Friday night pint. So please do join us tomorrow night. And until then, have a good one. And yeah, let us know if there's any breaking news about Ten Hag. Just send us a tweet and we'll go live. But until then, have a good one and cheers.
Thanks, Eric. Have a good night.